There are three kinds of tshuva, Rav Kook says, three categories. It's tshuva tivit, natural tshuva, emunit, the tshuva of faith, religion, Torah, and tshuva sichlit, intellectual, spiritual tshuva. The tshuva shnivit yeshnalkim, there are two subcategories of natural tshuva. Tshuva tivit gufanit, there's bodily, physical, natural tshuva, and tshuva tivit nefashit, and a more spiritual but still natural aspect of tshuva. This is all right at the beginning of the Orata Tshuva, by the way. So Rav Kook takes for granted that the most fundamental layer most fundamental engine of tshuva relates to the natural and bodily sphere. And he goes on to explain what he means. The bodily area of tshuva encompasses all of those sins against the laws of nature, hamusar v'hatorah, and of ethics and Torah, insofar as they relate to the laws of nature. The end, the telos of all bad conduct is such as to bring us to pain and illness. And there's so much that we suffer as individuals and collectively on a part of our poor conduct against the laws of nature, ethics, and Torah. He says, once the individual realizes, it becomes clear to them this thing that we are suffering in this way. It comes to realize that, in fact, all of this physical suffering is on some level, and this is piercing and shocking, but on some level, he says, this is your fault as an individual. You have a responsibility, you have guilt for all of this diminishment of life that has come upon you. And once you realize that, once you realize that you focus your heart on rectifying the situation, to returning to the laws of life, to observing the laws of nature, and ethics, so that you return and live and return to the life of joy, life in all of its fullness and all of its joy will return to you by you returning to it. It's shocking, maybe even offensive, that Rav Kook really believes. He takes this is axiom number one of tshuva. This is the first thing we need to know, is that our physical, worldly, bodily suffering, and the fact that the suffering is a place of pain for us, is a function of our moral, spiritual persona. It's the fact that we are not living in the world right. We are, Rav Kook says, out of sync with the world. The world is out of sync, and it is because we are out of sync with the world. And if we could get in sync with the world, then the world would be a happier, better, healthier place. Again, this is not the worst point in human history by far, not the worst point in Jewish history by far, but again, for most of us in our lifetimes, many of us have felt quite this out of place in the world. Like the world just is not operating the way it should, and all the structures, those parts of the world that we took for granted that would keep us safe and guarantee us prosperity have just aren't there. It turns out they were illusions. Their illusions have been shattered, and it's people are dying. The world, people are suffering. They're ill. The world is burning, literally out west, and culturally and politically, and we just don't feel safe or at home. The world, everything is off. The world is out of sync. And Rav Kook says it's because we're out of sync with the world. And he really does, he means this on a technical, physical, empirical level. He says, these are the exact kind of problems that the doctors deal with. I mean, it's the doctors, and you get the best epidemiologists working on this stuff these problems, and they work so much. It's a great labor, and they haven't finished it, and they're never going to finish it because no one's ever going to solve all of the technical problems of human existence in the world, such that we'll be free of disease and natural catastrophe. And we've never found the solution. We never will. And so he says, it would appear that this area of tshuva, this corner of tshuva, is dependent on bekesher chazak, with the tightest knot. It's inextricably bound up with the other aspects of tshuva, the spiritual, moral, religious, intellectual aspects of tshuva, of fulfilling our destinies as spiritual human beings and beings in direct relationship with God. And I think it's clear Rav Kook does not mean that by becoming better Jews and by connecting with God that we will eradicate viruses and end all natural catastrophes. That I don't think is the point. But there's a world of difference, I think. There's a world of difference between a natural catastrophe visited upon a world of kindness and care and empathy and responsibility, and a natural catastrophe visited upon a world of callousness and cruelty and indifference and irresponsibility. To the extent that we can get our relationships to the world and the people in the world right, the extent that we can be in the world in the right way, which means being in a world where everyone takes responsibility for the suffering of everyone else, where we make the world an arena of care and mutuality and the responsibility of each for all, where the suffering of anyone commands the proactive vigilance and responsibility and care and concern of everyone else to make things better, to l'taken et hamatzav. As Rav Kook says, when there's suffering in the world, we are called to fix it. And when we actually do everything we can to fix the situation, then yes, there will still be natural catastrophes. There's always going to be human suffering and disease and illness, and things are always going to be bad. But not only will we feel better about ourselves and about each other, but we really can save lives. And just I don't think we can calculate just how much better we can make the world if we live in the world in a mode of care and concern and mutuality and responsibility. And that, Rav Kook says, is the most fundamental layer of tshuva. It's not about your spiritual life in the first place, and it's also not about you. It's not about you as an individual. Rav Kook is very fond of quoting the Gemara in Yoma. It says, "Yachid osa tshuva mochen l'kol ha'olam kulo." The individual does tshuva that brings forgiveness for the entire world. And on the one hand, it's a kind of self-aggrandizing arrogance to it, where they think like, I'm the one who can save the world. But Rav Kook means it, or Chazal means it. It's you have the responsibility to save the world. Explains it's by living in the world the right way, relating to the others in the world in a way of that takes tshuva seriously. Tshuva meaning the fact that we can make things better, that we can be focused on fixing this situation through care. And then it is arrogant, but it's a burden and a responsibility. It's a massive burden. But it's also a burden that we all, each as individuals, share together. I have the same burden that you do. We're all in this together. And again, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about your own challenges, your own spiritual life. It's about that also. But most fundamentally, it's about the world. And it's about all of us together, trying to make this world a better place by living together in it in the right way. And so wherever you are, whether you're going to be dining with us in the backyard or at home or in New Haven, out of New Haven, wherever, I wish everyone as individuals, as our beloved community and the world, we should all be sealed in the book of life. We should have a year of happiness, health, and as Rav Kook says, the life in all of the fullness of its joy, the whole round, Chaim, the whole round of Sham, should return to us swiftly. Gemar Chatimat Sova, everyone. Just see you all again soon.